Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you're calling in from. We're grateful to have you here today for the next edition of Music Biz's Common Ground webinar series. Before we intro today's presenter, I just have a couple of quick housekeeping notes for you to make the most of today's webinar. If you'd like to connect with your fellow attendees, be sure to change the chat setting on your Zoom chat bar to everyone, so that way everyone can see your messages. And reminder that with most of our webinars, or I should say like all of our webinars, we'll be hosting Q&A at the end of today's session. If you have any questions for today's presenters, be sure to drop them in the Q&A box on your Zoom dashboard. You'll click the Q&A button. It'll pop that little window up, and you'll be able to type out questions that'll directly go to today's presenter. And a final reminder, this webinar will be recorded and hosted on Music Biz's website. It should be available by end of business today. We'll be dropping links in the chat throughout the session so you can find the direct way to access them. But another way would be to visit musicbiz.org, navigate to the events section of our website, and click Event Recording Archive. That'll take you to all of the recordings of all of the events we've hosted in the past few years. You can also navigate specifically to the Common Ground webinar series page under the Educate banner on our website, and you'll be able to access the recordings from there. Outside of today's webinar, I want to talk about some upcoming events from Music Biz very quickly. First and foremost, we're kicking off 2026 with our third annual Trust and Safety in Music Symposium. It's happening Monday, January 12th at NYU. Earlier this week, we confirmed this year's keynote, which will be with Michael Lewin at the Music Fights Fraud Alliance. He just joined the MFFA as the executive director in February, and he'll be setting the tone for the rest of the day's events by talking about what the music industry is working on regarding addressing widespread fraud and how we can collaborate across company and industry lines to make a safer music industry for executives and consumers alike. That just kicks off our events segment for 2026. Most importantly, we'll be hosting Music Biz 2026 once again at the Renaissance Atlanta Waverly, May 11th to the 14th. In case you missed it, registration, hotel bookings are all open now by visiting musicbiz2026.com. Be sure to visit that site and also follow us on socials at MusicBizAssoc on Instagram and Music Business Association on LinkedIn for updates on the conference for 2026, as well as our other events and initiatives. Reminder that you can help us shape what the educational program at Music Biz 2026 is going to look like through our call for presentations. We have just shy of a month left to submit panel ideas for the 2026 conference. Be sure to send your ideas into us by December 3rd if you'd like to contribute to the program. Also, between now and January 28th, we'll be accepting nominations for our 2026 Busy Awards. We have 9 crowdsourced categories that we'll be taking submissions for in 2026. That includes 2 brand new awards for this year. One is the ACE Communicator Award, which recognizes folks that work in the fields of corporate communications and public relations, and our Digital Innovator Award, which will honor those who are bringing new technologies into the industry and using them to advance the business of music for the better. So musicbiz2026.com, again, is your best place to access the registration form for next year, your hotel booking link for discounted hotel rooms while they're still available, as well as our call for presentations and Busy Award nomination forms. Finally, while you're at the Music Biz website, musicbiz.org, be sure to check out our Common Ground webinar series page for the final 2 sessions in our fall series coming up in 2 weeks and 4 weeks' time. You'll find recordings of our past fall webinar sessions, our latest podcast featuring an interview with Larry Mills at Vobel, and info on the Trust and Safety program for 2026. But let's get out of future events and go back to today's event. We're really excited to have Symphonic Distribution presenting today. Please welcome Randall Foster from the Symphonic team. Randall, the floor is yours.
Hello, welcome everybody. I'm glad that you're all there. I can't see you, but I'm assuming that you're all there and you all look beautiful. I'm having some COVID PTSD right now, so you'll have to bear with me, but it is my pleasure to be here. My name is Randall Foster. I'm the Chief Creative Officer at Symphonic, and today we're going to be discussing what it means to go beyond distribution. We're going to talk about building scale to help your independent music enterprise grow in ways not seen before for 2025 and beyond. At Symphonic, we have built and have positioned ourselves to help provide an infrastructure to help clients scale effectively and efficiently, leveraging tools to increase that efficiency and reduce operational redundancies often found around the distribution of music. Symphonic partners with selectively high, Symphonic partners selectively with high performing independent labels, managers, and entrepreneurs. We've grown a great deal over the past few years to over 200 employees in 29 countries. Our mission is very simple. It's to help independents scale globally while maintaining ownership and creative control over their intellectual property. We're going to move through 5 key areas today: our story, the ever evolving music landscape, building infrastructure, going beyond distribution, and then we're going to look ahead to the future. So, why we're going to be discussing our story is I firmly believe that if you know where we're coming from, you'll have a better understanding of where we're trying to go as an independent music company, especially one who's positioned here to bolster and hold up and help independent labels succeed. The new music landscape we're going to discuss, it really leans into how we can build scale in 2025, 2026, and beyond. You're going to hear that word a lot today. I apologize ahead of time, but it is the new keyword for success here. The part of building scale is leveraging infrastructure, and you have to leverage that as a catalyst for growth. So we're going to be discussing that. Additionally, we're going to be thinking beyond distribution. How do we lean outside of traditional record label, record company models to find new and other ways to monetize and sustain that growth? And last but not least, we're going to look into a crystal ball and we're going to try to discuss the future here. How are we going to evolve in years to come? I think most of us that have been around for a while, if we look at the industry as it stands today, would agree that we're kind of light years ahead of where we thought we would ever be just a few years ago. And so we're moving fast and loose and enjoying the process, but we're going to discuss that and what that means for the rest of us and for us as we proceed forward. So I'd like to talk about Symphonic a little bit here so you know more about us. We are an independent music company founded in Tampa, Florida. We've got offices all over the United States and in every major music market on earth. We distribute to every major DSP, and we offer UGC monetization, physical distribution, sync licensing, video distribution, publishing and administration, neighboring rights collections, and YouTube monetization as well. We were founded in 2006 by Jorge Brea, who was a producer at the time and needed help getting his music out. And he decided that if people weren't going to help him, he was going to do it himself. Our whole goal here, though, is to empower creators to distribute their music on their own terms. So we've grown into one of the largest independent global music distribution and marketing companies, still left standing today, staying true to that independent spirit. Jorge, to this day, remains at the helm as our CEO and fearless leader, and we still fight vigorously for the independent. So like I said, in 2006, Jorge was a producer. He was an EDM producer living in Tampa, Florida, who needed help getting his music out. There was relatively few DSPs in 2006. If you look back and you think about who was standing in 2006, we've got Apple iTunes, Rhapsody, Napster, eMusic. And if you were in EDM or if you were a part of DJ culture, Beatport was very, very important to you. Well, Jorge had produced records, but had issues getting them out digitally. And frankly, there weren't a lot of assistance there for a mid-level artist who was having lots of success in the club, but who couldn't compete for market share with the big labels that were in play. And so, like most entrepreneurs do, he saw a need and he ran headlong towards it. His early challenges, though, were much of what we're going to talk about today: scale and marketing, not really having any help figuring out how do we market, how do we approach releasing our music. And so, for him, the goal was simple: get his music out. And then as the scene evolved, friends came over and started using his business. And it kind of grew like a snowball rolling downhill. Early success stories here were artists like Bad Bunny, with the growth and the explosion of the reggaeton scene in the early 2000s. But since then, we've grown and we've expanded and we have become, quite frankly, genre agnostic. Um, our goal at every turn is to figure out new ways to monetize music. We were early to embrace ringtones. We were one of the first distribution companies at TikTok, monetizing that and delivering to TikTok on behalf of our clients. And we try to look at open-minded approaches to marketing and promotional vehicles like Spotify Discovery Mode. We were early on there, and our clients have really benefited from that. So it's something we take a lot of pride in. Being independent means we can pivot quickly and move towards opportunity. We're always looking for new ways to monetize for our clients, and that's really kind of the underlying mantra of how we exist. So let's talk about the changing music landscape.
So sorry to chime in, Randall, just real
Yes.
quick. Folks are saying if there are slides, they're not able to see them. If we've got
Oh,
slides, we'll just pull them up.
hold on, hold on. I apologize. I got so excited to talk to you guys, I didn't even share my screen. Amateur hour over here, huh?
Hey,
All
lots
right.
of exciting things to talk about. No worries whatsoever. And I'll be quick to point out very quickly that 2026 will be y'all's 20th anniversary from the recap of the timeline there, which is very exciting.
It will be, and we might have to have a party at Music Biz. I'm not sure, but I feel like there might be something to celebrate. So I'm going to run through what I just talked about really quickly with a bit of egg on my face. I appreciate you all being patient with me here. So, like I said, we are global, 200 employees in 29 countries worldwide, millions of dollars paid out to independents, and we're very, very proud of that. Again, that mission is to help independents scale globally while maintaining ownership and creative control, something that's hard to do. So, again, we're going to talk through this agenda here. The story, which I've kind of already knocked out for you. We're going to talk about the new music landscape, building infrastructure for growth, going beyond distribution, what that looks like and feels like. And then we're going to look and try to talk about the future ahead to the best that we can. So again, 100% independent music market. I feel like this is like a Groundhog Day. We've done this before. Offices all over the United States and every major music market around the world. We're very proud of the expansion we've had around the world. And we really feel that putting authentic boots on the ground in these other territories has given us a market advantage, whether it be in the EU or the Asian Pacific or the Southern Cone, the Caribbean, Latin America. We are there, and we're really, really proud to represent our artists and our labels there. The story, as I said, begins in 2006 with Jorge Brea. At 16, he produced over 45 original vinyl records. He was crushing in the clubs. He was a breakbeat DJ for anybody who is actually into the micro genres. This is before we were utilizing the EDM moniker. And was trying to get his music out. And so symphonic was really a necessity for him because he couldn't get the help he needed elsewhere. Here we are at the changing music landscape. And I believe this is when Henrik spoke up. So I'll slow down here. Global music business today is built on infrastructure. We all need to realize that. We're not just uploading tracks and praying for success. Today, streaming has matured. It's a stable space. Growth is now coming from other areas in a great way. Streaming is a bit, in some cases, saturated depending on your marketplace. The growth is going to be coming from new areas like user generated content, or UGC for short, if you're not familiar with the acronym, short form video content, direct to fan. And the direct to fan relationship is more important today than it's ever been, I think, in the history of the music industry. Physical distribution continues to impress and continues to grow. And then sync licensing, brand affiliation, and other outside of the box ways to create opportunity and revenue are paramount today. Creators today have to think like entrepreneurs, not artists. It's not about standing on a stage and playing your music and hoping for the best. You have got to be thinking about every facet of your business. Like Jay-Z said, I'm not a businessman, I'm a business man. So today, algorithms are the new tastemakers. A&R is data driven, and fan ecosystems equal success. At the end of the day, nothing outweighs an audience. Audience is king. Engaged audience is what matters. But if you have that engaged audience and you captivate them and you keep them insular to you, you have the ability to sell to them constantly. And that is really bringing a lot of success for artists and labels out there. We're also in a new paradigm where the creator economy has changed the game entirely. We've propped up new overnight successes, some of which have succeeded and been fantastic, others of which are flashes in the pan. And we've really made the hit factor elusive and even harder to pinpoint than it was before. So, survival today, more than ever, requires understanding the value of building a scalable, data driven business. And that's what we're going to get into next. As I said, the modern label has to evolve from releasing music to operating like an enterprise. We're going to measure our success not by single releases, but by systems that generate predictable, repeatable value. Predictable, repeatable value. These are really important words because if we can predict the value, if we can predict the revenue, we know where our growth is. If we know where our growth is, we know where to reinvest. And that allows us to put our money into great marketing and other operational moves that will help us grow our revenues even further. We're going to connect marketing, finance, and data into one continuous workflow. And we're going to build infrastructure that brings scale because scale does bring success. Key performance indicators have to tie creative to business performances in ways we've never done before. You're no longer just releasing the music and doing well releasing the music. You've got to tie that and you've got to find the why associated with that so that you can do that over and over and over again. The global streaming markets are shifting and there's a rise in fan monetization, which makes that diversification matter more than ever. Again, we're no longer just releasing music and playing gigs. There are new verticals outside of the traditional ones, and we've got to leverage those. UGC, live streams, sync, direct to fan. The traditional ones still matter. Touring still matters. Merch still matters. All of those items are still important, but we have to think outside the box. There's items outside of this that we haven't even discussed, from NFTs, for instance. All of these items are things that every entertainment company needs to be thinking about and deciding what their strategy is. So operational excellence is at the cornerstone of all of this. Leadership today is about aligning creativity with systems. There's a mindset shift from that releasing track mentality to managing the enterprise that owns rights and builds value. And that is key here. We have to think like a portfolio company. You own an investment portfolio. Optimize that structure. Automate tasks associated with that. Leverage AI when possible and scale smartly without adding overhead. The single releases will become more assets in the portfolio. That portfolio, which includes publishing, copyrights, sound recordings, video assets, and all of which can be monetized. More assets equal more revenue generally. Integrating marketing, legal, and finance to inform decisions and operating in a smart manner is the new imperative. And we have to scale output without scaling overhead because that's the new paradigm. Scaling output without scaling overhead. If we spend more for every dollar more we make, we're no further ahead than we were before. So we're going to leverage forecasting and repeatability and use those as creative advantages. Continuous release cycles build that growth and momentum. Inertia is really hard to create, but easy to maintain. Think about a bicycle wheel spinning. All you have to do is keep touching it, and it'll keep spinning forever. If you ignore it, it's going to go down to a dead halt, and it's going to be harder to get it going again. This mindset brings growth, and we all have to continue to feed the machine. And so those continuous release cycles are the new reality, and they exist now. Your stats will tell you that. You have no choice but to lean in on that if you want to succeed. There are 4 core pillars that every scalable music business has to stand on. These pillars are going to ensure creative freedom is backed by solid, measurable structure. Understanding your brand being the first pillar, It will bring clear market positioning. It's going to allow you to identify yourself globally and have an understanding of who your audience is and where they truly are. Your team has to be dialed in. If you don't have headcount to cover a needed task, look to leveraging technology or AI and or outsource solutions to accomplish this. I want to emphasize for this entire presentation, and actually if you see me in real life, when I talk about leveraging AI in business, I am not talking about replacing humans, not talking about getting rid of our colleagues and friends. I'm talking about making the humans that are around us more efficient. We want to work smart, not hard. We've got to realize that catalog is value. According to Luminate, catalog is responsible for 73% of all music revenues in digital music last year. Moreover, another figure that I hear tossed around quite a bit is that catalog accounts for roughly 2/3 of recorded music revenue worldwide. So catalog, in case you're curious, is defined as music that's more than 18 months old. So the value proposition here is quite obvious. Catalog is valuable and we have to leverage it. Lastly here, data and finance, dialing in the data that we have provides insights to inform our decisions. There's no shortage of data available today. We know who is listening, where they live, whether they are male or female, what age they are. We can leverage all of that data to inform our decisions. And that intersection is so important. And it has become immensely important to the success and growth of symphonic specifically. Y'all, we're playing Moneyball, and you should too. All right, take a look at this pyramid for me. I want you to read it from the bottom up. Systems use data to inform ownership, how to leverage their assets, which brings creative control. Operational discipline enables faster releases, cleaner reporting, and our ability to negotiate stronger. Owning your IP, your music, your data turns catalog into financial equity, and predictive insights drive smarter decisions. If you can predict success, you're going to do it, right? Predictive insights drive those smarter decisions and better catalog strategy. Financial efficiency is creative freedom. So the goal here is not to grow bigger, but to grow smarter, stronger, more autonomous. Be good stewards of your own business. Structure enables speed and freedom. Owning your IP and data converts your catalog into financial equity, and efficiency in operations gives you creative control. So like I said, this is not all about releasing music. This discussion is not going to be all about just distribution. But let's be real, without a good distribution situation, you're dead in the water from the jump. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've built next. We've built systems here that allow our clients to scale. The Symphonic MS is the nucleus of our client experience here. It's where everything from where your releases are, where your royalties are, where your analytics are, where you can look into other marketing functions, et cetera, exists. It's where you can see where you've delivered, if you've delivered to all 200 DSPs, or if you're windowing TikTok for an early promotional play. All of that exists there. It's a unified data and distribution platform. It's built for scale with automation, precision, metadata, and it has tools like Transfer Track, Split Share, and Stream Safe built in. Transfer Track is our patented catalog migration technology. It removes the pain points from catalog migration and movement. Everybody can agree, nobody likes to enter metadata. It's a pain in the back. This thing automates that for you. You don't have to deal with it. Split Share is our best-in-class splits technology. This enables our clients to pay collaborators, producers, bandmates, etc., seamlessly from our system. Label owners, you can use Split Share to pay your artists directly out of the distribution flow. You don't even have to take the money in and hire an accountant. It's amazing. It'll even account for advances in recoupment, which is pretty cool. Stream Safe is the latest to be added to this suite of services. And last but certainly not least, is part of our data analytics toolkit. It's going to enable labels and artists to spot artificial streams as reported by the DSPs, and better understand A, if your music is being artificially streamed, and B, what songs specifically are affected. This allows you to make informed decisions on how to deal with those issues directly and strategically. We turn distribution into a strategic growth engine, plain and simple. We should be leveraging data for as many decisions as we can, whether it be forecasting revenue, tracking fan growth, and optimizing market. Owning and managing your rights correctly is foundational here. Many still lose income due to poor metadata or fragmented rights. By fragmented rights, I mean rights where you're either not claiming, not collecting, or you don't even know if you've got the rights. You have to understand your master, publishing, and neighboring rights, which will allow you to police those assets to ensure that the metadata is accurate. Having accurate metadata still remains one of the biggest struggles in the music industry today. Metadata, since day one, has been a nightmare. Anytime humans are involved, things get screwed up. Metadata is tough, and making sure that you are the master of your own metadata is incredibly, incredibly important. Lastly, automation and transparency in your royalties are going to ensure that you're capturing your full value. Turning data into direction. So we try to approach the global distribution world with regional outlook, looking for regional partners, playlisting, and culturally aligned content that helps us to guide artist growth. The most successful labels are building data cultures, not dashboards. We're aligning our creative marketing and financial teams around those shared insights. The decision intelligence here allows connecting artist performance with market behavior and financial outcomes into one feedback loop. Labels are using this effectively to forecast, to identify high growth, and to optimize release schedules and ad spend. Data is only powerful when it leads to actionable strategy, not just reports. Again, let me say that again. Data is only powerful when it drives action. So we help labels align creative marketing and finance teams around shared analytics, and data culture, not dashboards, is what's going to separate those scalable companies. Beyond localization and real market integration, growth isn't about entering markets, it's about integrating authentically. You have to leverage locality. You have to leverage the local press, influencers, partners in order to win in your territories. And you have to know those territories. So Symphonics, regional experts in Latin America, Europe, Asia, Africa, the Caribbean, Canada, ensure campaigns connect culturally and commercially. We're bringing an international presence, which brings international know-how, which leads to success in those individual territories. Working with boots on the ground ensures that your strategy feels and looks authentic. It's important that it's authentic because authenticity wins markets. Execution is what's going to sustain them. Executing is not just about chasing algorithms. It's about consistency, timing, audience flow, etc. Platform strategy is now orchestration. Coordinating Spotify, TikTok, YouTube, and more, Instagram, etc. The lines are really blurred between these surfaces. It's harder today, I think, than ever for an artist, especially an independent artist, to exist because of the need to balance all of these things. And I find artists sometimes willfully ignore platforms, which is going to lead to brand and market inconsistency, which ultimately leads to failure on those platforms. Remember, we're talking about scale. So scale requires you to operate at scale everywhere. As the slide says here, timing is everything. Cross-platform timing and creative reuse multiplies that impact. Repurpose those assets. If you shoot a full-length music video, get cut downs. Use them in your short-form marketing, not just on TikTok, but reels and shorts as well. Again, we have to work smart, not hard. We have to take our assets, leverage those, cut them down, repurpose them, remix them, and use them to help us succeed in this new music space. Here, we try to map the DSP data that we're given to audience behavior, and we leverage that for smarter campaigns. So what we're looking to do here is to reinforce the artist's story and drive that ROI on those marketing spends, leveraging the data. As I stated earlier, a few slides back, catalog does account for 2/3 of recorded music revenue. So let's maximize it. It's your most valuable asset class, period, end of story. This is an attention economy, but catalog and catalog longevity is the new growth metric. And the great thing is with certain platforms, TikTok, for instance, catalog is new. I have 15-year-old daughters who are singing songs that I listened to in the 1980s to me because they're hearing them on TikTok. We have seen time and time again songs explode on TikTok, um, seemingly for no reason at all. We at Symphonic are actually most recently, the beneficiaries of this with Imogen Heap and her song Headlock, which went incredibly viral at the top of this year. That's a 20-year-old song, y'all. It's a 20-year-old song that my 15-year-old daughter thinks is the greatest thing ever that she just discovered. I don't have the heart to tell her I was listening to it 20 years ago when it first came out. But these top earning labels are going to treat those catalogs as portfolios. Again, not static libraries. We have to figure out where our evergreens are because those evergreens will often outperform new releases. And then we leverage that by repurposing, re-release, remaster, remix, find places to push it towards sync, etc. Market it in a territory it's never been marketed to before. I was with a label yesterday that brought up their evergreens and the fact that they're doing alternative language versions of their evergreens. The first one is in Mandarin. One of their biggest songs they've had re-recorded in Mandarin, and they're pushing it towards China. Brilliant. Brilliant, I say. Look at your catalog and figure out where the value lies and then double down there. That managing those catalogs is going to mean that you're going to track that performance and you're going to invest intelligently. So catalog longevity now drives more value than new releases. Think like an investor. Manage that catalog as intellectual property, not inventory. It doesn't sit on a shelf. We're going to work it. And we're going to work it through reissues, remixes, and syncs that reactivate that and multiply that lifetime value. Y'all, we're putting old wine into new bottles. If you do that, you're going to succeed here. With transparent royalty tracking and tools like split share and transfer track, we're able to turn that data into capital. Royalty streams are no longer just income, they are leverage. So banking has entered into the music space, there's no question. And because they have arrived here, because private equity and capital organizations have arrived here to invest, they're looking more than ever at our catalogs and at the value of those catalogs because those are non-correlated assets. Music is a non-correlated asset. What that means is when the Dow takes a dip, when we have a natural disaster, music consumption actually either stays flat or goes up. During COVID, music consumption went up. Flat. Across the world, music consumption went up. The world shut down. Everything was bad. War, music consumption goes up. It's terrible. I mean, we're consistently good in bad times, but we have to be smart about this because it makes us a very, very attractive place for people to invest. So you can use, as an owner, you can use these royalty forecasts to sell it, to secure advances and credit lines, to do valuations of your catalog, either for sale or for nurturing new partnerships, new joint ventures, etc. You can diversify those investments and still maintain your ownership if you have the data to do so. So that data accuracy is now absolutely a requirement of existing. It's not an admin task. It's inexcusable to not know the value of your properties. And it really, I urge everyone, if you're hearing me speak and you're thinking, gosh, I really don't, I don't really know what that looks like. I don't know what those models look like. Work on figuring it out because it's really, really valuable. The future of catalog management does rely on that transparency, predictability, and liquidity. As we said earlier, we have to be thinking outside of the box, outside of just traditional distribution. So we're going to be looking at things like sync licensing, brand deals, etc. Like I said earlier, physical distribution, etc., merch, touring, if you're able to participate in that with your artists, publishing, etc. You have to think about this business like a race car with 8 cylinders running around the track. If you're just doing distribution, you've got one cylinder pumping. Your race car is not going to move very fast. But if you have all these other items I just named, assuming each one of them is a cylinder in this race car, you're going to go faster and faster and faster the more you leverage those. So when we integrate sync and brand strategy into our release planning, it allows us to make smarter decisions. Your music is the story. So we have to find partners who help us tell that across multiple formats. Operational finance is another item that we have to lean into for a scalable business here. Financial discipline is creative freedom. I said that earlier and I'll say it again. So high performing labels are going to operate with a view to their cash flow. They're going to predict royalty cycles and build forecasting around that. If you know you earn X amount per month, that is really, really great stuff to know historically so that you can plan for the future. So financial infrastructure means that you're connecting that data, those rights and the accounting into one cohesive view, one place where you get all the information that you need. This establishing these forecasting models does enable reinvestment, evaluating risk before committing to advances or acquisitions, and aligning marketing spend. When we look at advances, we look at every factor around the advance, and we look at whether it's catalog or whether it's frontline and how the last frontline record did, etc. There's so much data. We have to all be leveraging that so that we have that financial fluency that transforms our creative ambition into measurable, repeatable success. So to recapitulate here, forecasting, cash flow visibility, and risk modeling are going to be crucial for your sustainability. Use that data to align marketing spend and reinvestment decisions. Our reporting tools here locally and forecasting tools are going to help partners model income, predict catalog performance, and plan expansion with clarity. Now, reinvestment multiplies long-term value, treating catalog like it's an appreciating portfolio. So we're looking outside of the traditional verticals here when we look at reinvestment, and we encourage all of our labels that we work with to do so as well. Modern labels today are media brands. They're looking into live, into merch, education, content ventures. Shoot, some of them even have merch lines that are for the label. I encourage you to look into this and look into the value that exists there. Each vertical there is going to compound audience engagement and IP value. Again, we look at diversification not as a distraction, but as resilience. Success begets success. We've all heard that. You should use your momentum to build momentum. Reinvest with intention. Take that money that you're making and put it back to work. Treat royalty revenue as capital growth, not just payout, and reinvest strategically so that you can acquire new catalogs that complement your already existing catalogs. Look to remastering, creating new content around the music that you have, and reactivate those catalogs. If you sit on a catalog of music and your high-performing titles don't have lyric videos, do lyric videos. Thank me later. These moves, these little tweaks that we can lean in on, all are going to affect the bottom line downstream. You can use that money for artist development and use that past data to help inform those decisions. Compound growth is going to happen when your money feeds the creativity, not just your operations. So again, treat that royalty revenue as growth capital, reinvest it strategically, and reinvestment compounds both creativity and profitability. Lastly, some of us are lifers. Some of us are in this forever. Others don't have a problem looking at exit. Exit's not bad. I think you have to think about where you end up here as a label owner, and you can think about it on your own terms. Planning for liquidity doesn't mean you're planning to leave. It means you're building that transferable value. Maybe that liquid event just reinfuses the company. Successful labels do understand that, and they use the valuation and metrics to prepare for that. Whether it's a partial catalog sale where you re-leverage that money to fuel expansion, JVs and mergers, succession planning, etc. Um, Simon Sinek wrote a book called The Infinite Game that's I'm a big fan of. I'm going off reservation here. It's not on the slide. The Infinite Game is a fantastic book. Recommend that you read it. It talks about the fact that in lots of ventures, the goal is not necessarily to win or to, in this case, to exit. The goal is to continue. You want to continue, and in that continuance, you want to grow. And it's all about the validity of that in the search for that in your operational flow as a label, as a business person, et cetera. It doesn't matter what business you're in, it applies. But clear ownership structure and clean metadata and consistent accounting are going to drive these valuations that do allow you to reinvest and stay in infinitely if you wish to, or exit gracefully if that's your path. So the key here, the key takeaway is own as much as possible for as long as possible, as long as it makes the most sense. The future. This is the scariest slide because I can talk about the majority of this, which I think I've got a pretty good handle on, but man, it's moving fast. Our focus is really building an infrastructure that keeps labels and managers in control of their rights, data, and creative futures. Whatever technology comes next, whether it's AI, blockchain, financialization, et cetera, are reshaping the industry. Seems like every year we get a new algorithm that we're chasing down. Automation here is going to free teams up for strategy, leaving the data and transparency to become standard. Data never lies. And so I urge you, as we grow and as we look at these new technologies, 10 years ago, none of us knew what NFT was. Most didn't know what blockchain was. And look how important they are now. Look how important AI is now. And I'm not talking about writing a song in AI. I'm talking about businesses like us leveraging AI to help us be faster and more efficient and better partners for labels like you. That streamlines every bit of our business. And if you leverage it for yours, it'll do the same. Blockchain is going to definitely enhance transparency. The blockchain doesn't lie. You can't alter it. And financialization is going to mature. Catalogs will continue to trade at an all-time high. We are selling and trading and moving music and IP catalogs around like never before because the financial institutions have arrived and they love this space, just like we love this space. I'm thrilled they're here. I'm thrilled they're here to invest, frankly. So the winning companies here are going to be the ones that know their IP and build ecosystems to win. We're not looking for viral tracks. We're looking for ecosystems of large content that are going to win categorically because they're going to be predictable investments. So if you're looking for key takeaways here, and I appreciate all of you being here with me today, we believe that the next era of the music business truly does belong to companies that operate with the creativity of artists and precision of enterprises. It's got to be a double-edged sword. At Symphonic, that's the balance we've tried to build. From the independent vision of a kid in Tampa who just wanted to get his music out to a global network that's empowered labels and managers worldwide. That's the goal. The goal is to hang on to the creativity and operate like an enterprise. And if you can put those two together, if you can find art and commerce and put those together in a meaningful way, nothing is going to stop you. So if you're going to look for takeaways today, the 5 takeaways for today are we need to build structure before scaling. Don't do it in the inverse. Have the structure, have the systems in place, Those are going to support your scale. They're going to make life easier when the numbers are bigger, when the quantity of catalog is larger. We have to treat our catalogs like a portfolio. It's an investment portfolio. Yes, it's art. Yes, it's art, but you've invested in it. Let's own it and operate it like it's a portfolio and be good stewards of that business. We have to make data a daily practice. Data is important. I am a creative brain person. I'm the coming into the last 20 years of existence, I was the least data driven person you've ever met. I love data analytics. I love the story it tells because it doesn't lie. Data doesn't lie. Make data part of your daily practice. And we have to grow globally, but we have to keep an eye out locally. We want to grow globally with local insight. And remember, independence means owning every decision. It's not about doing it alone, it's about owning every decision. And I think that's really important. So I appreciate you all coming here today. I think now is the time we open it up for Q&A, I believe. Let me pull up.
Yes, and I just want to say thank you so much, Randall, for spending this afternoon with us, and thanks to everybody for your attention and time today. Really great stuff you're sharing with the crowd, and just really grateful to have you representing Symphonic with us today. So thanks again, Randall.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm just going to go down from the top here to the best of my ability. Give me just a second. Let me read this. All right. Yeah. Great question. I'm going to murder your name. I'm really sorry, but I'm going to try it. Katsia says, I'm interested in distributing my music with Symphonic. I distributed a music video in 2021 with Symphonic and with my record label, but now I want to distribute my music with the same record label. Is there a way I can distribute the new music and video under the same record label name? Yes, absolutely. We are going to have after the Q&A, I'm going to throw up a QR code that will give you basically the ability to reach out, and we'll kind of send you on your way here. But just know that absolutely, we actually have a lot of labels that came to us first for video distribution because our video distribution offering doesn't require you to be a Symphonic proper distribution client. And so they start with video distribution, and I'm biased, but the video team here is incredible. And the person who runs the team, I just have so much respect for her, and she does such a great job. And she takes such great care of our clients that I have a lot of clients convert from video only to wanting to come full hog because they've realized how good distribution can be. It's weird in the world today that distribution is kind of an ugly thing sometimes. You can't get replies to emails and stuff, and you find a place where people are actually humans and they treat you nice, and it makes you want to stick around. So yes, absolutely, Ketsia. Hit the QR code, and I'm actually gonna. I think I'm gonna throw that up on the screen now so that you can have access to it, and reach out. Let us know how we can help. Certainly. Okay. Next one, I moved the window and here it is. How can you know the true metadata of your releases? Tamara asks. So Tamara, metadata translates literally as information about information. So metadata is every element of knowledge about the song. If you think about iTunes in the early days, when you would look at all the line that goes across and it would have song title, artist, genre, length, BPM, etc. That's metadata. That is it. So knowing the true metadata of your release, the true metadata is inputted. Most of it is inputted when you distribute it digitally. And so that's going to break all the way down to genre and area that it was recorded, et cetera, who the songwriters are. All of that's very, very, very imperative to have and to know and have access to. So owning that metadata means working with a partner who presents that to you in a transparent way. And so we, by nature, as you input tracks for release, that metadata is inputted as part of that process. And so it's available at that point and it's preserved for your ownership at that point. Great question. Is a registration with Harry Fox Agency and the MLC a duplicate? No. Nope, not at all. For those who don't know, both Harry Fox and the MLC deal with mechanical licensing in the United States. So in the United States, there's a statutory license set by the Copyright Royalty Board that says if I make a record or a CD, that I have to pay X amount per product that I manufacture, and that's called a mechanical license because that's triggered when you mechanically press the record. Um, that was the core standard for the longest time. Since the early 1900s, that had been our standard. And this is obviously way predating downloads and streaming and everything else. Well, a few years ago, on the passage of the Music Modernization Act, Congress dictated that there would be an organization created that would collect so-called digital mechanicals on behalf of music publishers from the streaming services. And that is called the MLC. So the MLC is going to collect mechanicals on behalf of the songwriters and publishers for the streams, whereas Harry Fox deals primarily with downloads and physical product. So Harry Fox is the older of the two organizations. I would argue that if you have a song coming out that you didn't write that's on your record, you need to be inputting all the publishing information correctly on with your distribution. You also need to get a license from Harry Fox for the mechanical, or you can use a third party. We have a partner called Easy Song License that does great work, and you can utilize a third party to kind of help you navigate that. Now, the MLC relationship is between them and the DSP and the songwriters and the publishers. So you as a record label, unless you wrote a song or own publishing, don't have to register with the MLC. You're set. That's covered because that is a relationship for the publishing side. It's for the underlying copyright. It's not for the sound recording. So I hope that explains it. But yes, MLC are both important. MLC and HFA are both important. They don't duplicate each other completely. Yes, you should jump into both of those. Is On Song affiliated with Symphonic? Tamara, I apologize, but I don't think I'm equipped to answer that. We move pretty fast and loose with our partnerships, and it very likely is. But I'm not familiar with On Song, and so I can't really speak to that. But if you want to offline with me, I'll be glad to connect. Also, for anybody here, I'm all over the socials, but on Insta, feel free to connect with me at Randall Foster. Glad to get in the DMs there and ask a question or two if you've got them. Again, hit the QR code as well because that's going to lead you to the right people on the team to help answer your questions. How can you know, Matt says, how can you know the true metadata? I know distributors, for instance, must register a work through an official DSP, and how are audits done on metadata? How can an artist check their song is registered correctly across all DSPs? So yes, true, Matt. All DSPs kind of have a little bit of a different standard, but there's commonality across all of it. And true metadata is going to include, like I said, all of the information I named earlier and then some. We take a highline approach where we're collecting often more metadata than is required by the DSPs. DSPs tell us what they want to be delivered. We deliver that to them. It's a push-pull in that direction. And so, so your true metadata, and I'm not going to denigrate any of our competitors. There's nice folks that work at all of them. I can speak on behalf of us. In that, our metadata is some of the most concise I've ever seen. And I come from distribution, having formerly worked at Naxos, the world's largest classical record label. I've done work with lots of aggregators, and I even own a record label that has dealt with metadata issues myself. And I can tell you that I've not seen anyone more thorough about metadata than we are. Sometimes much to my chagrin, in that it slows things down. But you can be faster, you can be thorough, and there's a mix there. I would rather us be thorough, because if we're too fast and we're unthorough, that means we're not collecting your money. Okay. Mark Copeland, no question, just support. I'm spinning. Mark, thank you so much. This has been so fun. I wish I could high five you right now. That's the nicest thing anybody said to me today. So what type of NFTs am I seeing be successful? That's a great question. So NFTs really were the hotbed topic a couple of years ago, and everybody was all over them. I have seen in most cases when the major labels have ran towards NFTs, and there's been some very public large bands that have done massive NFTs where you buy the NFT and you get the custom artwork, but you also get VIP at every show that you go to, et cetera. I think NFTs are most effective when you tie multiple experiences and assets to them in reparation for the money that you get for them. Where I've seen them succeed most, though, is where there's a very, very tight insular fan base that artist has leaned in really strongly with. I know I have a few friends who've made hundreds of thousands of dollars on NFTs as independent artists, but that's because they have a Discord server full of their followers that absolutely lean in. Again, all of these technologies are for naught if you don't have an audience. And I think it's really easy. Artists all the time go, oh, well, I got the best song ever. I got this going on and this going on. And I'm going to distribute it. And then they call me, the next Monday and they go, well, why didn't I get into Music Friday? And I'm like, how many tickets did you sell last show that you did? The reality is we have to remember that all of this diversification from an artist standpoint, artists make money by standing on stage making music for people who pay them. And if people won't show up and pay you to make music for them, it's going to be really hard to try to get these other cylinders on the race car pumping. And so, NFTs to me, I view NFTs as the thing that I would lean into after you've maximized each of those other categories I talked about. Because they are not the thing you lead with. And when they are, you'll know because you'll have an insular crowd that's asking for them. But they do have to include, in my experience, some sort of physical exchange, some sort of tangible exchange. They can't just stay in the ether. It's not about having the custom artwork. It's about having the custom artwork and the notoriety of being the person who gets to go backstage at every show because you bought the custom artwork. I think that really does matter. Um, all right, Jelmer asked, gosh, I hope that Jay's not silent. Um, are we open to partnering up with marketing and promotional tools and platforms to integrate with Symphonic? Absolutely. Please get at me. Absolutely. And we have a number of partners that we work with. If for clients, if you log into your dashboard and you can go up to the partners drop down, that's a list of people that we have vetted and that are bona fide partners and they do great work. Easy Song License, whom I mentioned earlier, is one of those. It really, we pride ourselves on the fact that we've been in this business, as Henrik pointed out, almost 20 years as an independent, still standing. Everybody, and it's not because people haven't come kicking the tires trying to buy Symphonic. We like being independent. I have a neon sign behind me on the other wall that says support independent music. We love that because it allows us to do anything we want. As long as we feel like it's going to benefit the client, we'll do it. As long as we feel like we can all grow from it, we'll do it. There's no more rules in music distribution. There's norms, but we don't even have to stick with the norms if it makes sense. And so part of that is teaming up with strategic folks so that we can help provide value and bring value, even in areas where we don't actually have staffing to do so. Remember earlier, I talked about scale. And one of the things I said about scale was looking to outsource where you don't have warm bodies. That's part of the way we do it. Thank you. Great question, gentlemen. Reach out if there's a discussion to be had. Any advice? Juan says, any advice to manage data efficiently and focus on the value of your catalog when you're already dealing with a lot of volume as a distributor? So managing data efficiently means having the reporting infrastructure built, and we have that internally. We have heat lists that we have built, and I have the best technology team in the entire business, and the reporting that we have and the level of granular data that we have because we have access to that data that you all have, and lots of which is actually provided to you all, is really, really beneficial. So, I think managing data efficiently involves setting up the right systems and right reports to do so. The reports that we've done that matter, things like TikTok analytics, et cetera, which, by the way, we were the first ones to have on a dashboard as distributors, are fantastic to show you where your heat seekers are, where the moments are that you can pounce on. If you see something blowing up at TikTok, leverage marketing against that. Leverage that data for that catalog. Now, looking at the value of your catalog, The value of your catalog is going to be a bigger, more global number. You're going to be looking at how much money you make annually and figuring out what kind of multiple you can fetch for that catalog. And it depends on what's happening in the marketplace. A couple of years ago, multiples were bonkers. When I started in music publishing a long time ago, multiples were very reasonable. The multiples are pronounced or mentioned colloquially in discussion as a number and X. So, and I don't mean, if I'm mansplaining this to the crowd, I apologize. But if you're fetching a 5X multiple, that means 5 times what you made last year. And we were at about a 4 to 6X when I entered into publishing in 2014, and it ran all the way up to almost 30X on certain acquisitions. I think Justin Bieber got at least 30X when he sold. And it's come back down, and it's a little more manageable now. But understanding your value and where the marketplace sits on the multiple, and taking those annual revenue numbers and compounding those and doing the math will give you an idea of what your catalog's worth. Now, the truth is, at the end of the day, something's only worth what somebody's willing to pay you for it. So if you decide your catalog is worth 10X and you go to market, you may or may not sell it. And at that point, we use that data to retool again. So it's this cycle of data that we're just going to leverage and leverage and leverage. So if you're trying to get out, that's how you do it. Okay, next question. What are my thoughts on a YouTube partner program and artists leveraging their income through AdSense, like official audio videos? We love YouTube, and we were early on with YouTube, and to the point where our founder still gets in the back end and still likes to get in because he's been there since day one. I think that every DSP partner program is worth looking into. Every single DSP we work with, the big, but I want to say that we work with more than 200. Let's talk about the top 6 or 7. When you talk about Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Meta, Pandora, Tidal, etc., most of these have an artist interface, and in that artist interface, they have programs that you can participate in, such as AdSense, etc., to help grow your numbers there. With us, in our discussions with these DSPs, if we have a track that we release that we're really pushing and it doesn't quite do what we'd hoped it to do, and we have a follow-up call and we say, hey, what happened to this? Invariably, always, if that artist team, if that label did not double down on platform and utilize the tools there, we get pushback immediately. It says, well, they're not using our marketing tools. I can't tell you why they didn't succeed. They're not using the marketing tools. That makes sense. And so in every case, if you have the ability, I urge you to lean into all of these specific programs with each of the DSPs, because I think they're all valuable. And again, listen, we have finite resources. We only have so many hours in the day. You have to think about what's going to affect the most change for you. But I will say YouTube to this day remains the #1 music consumption platform on earth to this day, undefeated. And we can't ignore YouTube just because we view it as an old technology. And there's a lot of artists that do that. So lean in on YouTube, lean in on growing that platform and growing those numbers, grow your profile there. Because when you get your profile past certain thresholds, you can monetize it. We have an MCN we can bring it into and actively monetize all clicks throughout your channel. You can't do that till you reach a modicum of success. So it's something to work on. Are we working any partnerships in West Africa? We have boots on the ground in South Africa, and we are open to any territorial expansion that makes sense. But we are proud to be in Africa and in South Africa. We don't currently have anything going in West Africa, but I'm absolutely all ears. Ian, thank you for asking. Eli, good to see you here. How do relationships work nowadays with artists when ownership is frequently selling and changing their portfolios? Would that not diminish meaningful relationships for artists with their management publishing? That's a fantastic question. Yeah, to a certain degree. In this world where catalogs are bought and sold left and right, artists do become orphaned, and it's an unfortunate byproduct of things. I will tell you that in my days in publishing, when we would acquire a catalog, often we would bring over creative from the catalog we acquired, because the reality is, if you acquire a catalog of 10,000 songs, there's no way, shape, or form for you to actually actively be able to work that catalog without some knowledge of what's there. And so often there's going to be kind of a key person that might come over, at least even for a limited period of time in that acquisition. But you're right. I mean, when you look at the labels that are buying the labels, and you look at the divestment of EMI back when they expanded and were split between Sony and Universal, um, brings in a lot of question about what happens to the art, what happens to the artists. I will tell you that the investing companies know where the valuable titles are because of the data transparency, and they lean in hard there. But you're right, that interpersonal relationship sometimes gets lost, and it's an unfortunate byproduct. Hey, David. David Mann asks, growing production company putting out 200 tracks per month. Holy smokes. Want to reach out and see if we can help with distribution and growth? Hit us up, David. Like I said, the QR code here's got access. You can find me online, but definitely hit us up. I'd like to know more about what you're doing with those 200 tracks. You're moving at a rapid pace. Next question is, there's also royalties through lyrics. How do we leverage lyrics for income? Thank you for your compliment on the webinar, and I appreciate your kind words about Symphonic. And are you in South Africa? That's awesome. I love that. So the lyric leverage here, this is what I mentioned earlier about lyric videos. If you own publishing, lyrics and lyric videos are a way to double dip a bit on your publishing collections. Just to paint a picture, if you put a video with a song on it on YouTube, and you own the publishing and you own the master, you make money on the publishing, you make money on the master. There is a suite of rights around music, and one of the rights is the right to reprint the lyrics. That right's not being triggered in that license. If you put in a lyric video, you effectively are triggering two rights: the right of distribution and the right of reprint. And yes, you can make more money on your publishing by having the lyrics there. So great question, but it does require ownership. Obviously, ownership is pretty paramount to a lot of what we've talked about today. Are there any new promo tools in the pipeline for Symphonic for new independent artists? We've got lots and lots of promo tools. And I would urge you to just take a look at the partners page for a breakdown of what those are. I can't really give up any secrets and tell you what's coming around, but I'll tell you, there's a gentleman in my office who actually oversees all of those partnerships for us. And I was talking to him in the kitchen area just before this started, about more promotional tools that we're looking to bring into the fold. And we're always looking for good partners. And it's, the goal here is just to bring as much value as possible. We're a distribution company that markets music to the DSPs, that thinks outside the box and brings in partners to help you win. And at the end of the day, that's the goal. All right, Tamara, you're back. Meaning lesser thresholds for campaign platforms. Tamara, can you expound upon that? I'm sorry, I don't understand what that means. Oh, sorry, shoot. I jumped the gun. Are there any, sorry, promotional tools. So lesser thresholds for campaign platforms. Yes, I think if you're talking about digital advertising, we for the longest time have ran digital advertising internally, and we have brought in an outside advertising partner who does not run on the same thresholds we do. And so again, I'd urge you to get in and look at the partners page in the SMS, which will explain all that. It's also under the marketing drop down. Under ads, but yes, there are partners that do run different thresholds. Unfortunately, the cost of doing business demands that on some instances we have to hold the line on thresholds, because otherwise all of the juice isn't worth the squeeze, if you will. But thank you, great question. Hi, Monica. So how do we leverage our catalog to pursue song placement opportunities in television and film? So we have a company called Bodega Sync that we started, that is part of us, but also to the side. I will be quite honest with you. There are a lot of distributors who claim that they do sync licensing for everybody who's in distribution with them. It's a patent lie. It's a patent falsehood. You can't do that. You can't do it effectively. I spent the first 15 years of my life in sync licensing before I came over to Symphonic specifically. And where I was at prior to Symphonic, I was doing Super Bowl ads and all sorts of big sync licenses on behalf of very major artists. You simply cannot leverage millions of songs for sync opportunities in an effective way, because in order to do that effectively, you actually have to have an understanding of the underlying music. You have to know what the music sounds like, what it feels like, how it makes you feel, etc. So what we decided was, when we launched Bodega, we decided that we were going to have a sync platform that would work with the most effective music for sync. Not everything's good for sync, to be quite honest. We were going to work with the songs and the artists that we thought were most effective for sync. So bodegasync.com, I'd urge you to take a look at it. Anybody can apply it. Much like video distribution, you don't even have to be a symphonic artist. You can apply there, and the team at Bodega will review your music, and we'll let you know if we think we can rep it or not. And they rep that music specifically. Now, I will say, we have had moments where Bodega has had an opportunity for music that they've not actively been representing, and they've reached out to our A&R staff to say, hey, is there any artists that we should reach out to see about maybe doing a one-off opportunity here, building a bridge with, to help this opportunity happen? And we do actively look for that, especially when it's in an odd subgenre or something that we don't currently represent. But for the most part, I urge anybody who's interested in sync licensing to apply for Bodega, because in all of the automation that exists today, and all of the AI that exists, and everything we've discussed about this, sync is still a very manual business. And it is, much to the chagrin of our founder, it's something that you just can't apply algorithms to and make happen, because of the fact that the people making those selections are human, and they want to be dealt with like a human. And until film and TV productions automate all of that, which God, I hope they don't, because that's the one of the last places where true ears and A&R exist. When that becomes automated, I'm fearful for what the production value is going to be of the television we watch, to be quite honest. As long as there are beating hearts in those seats that are making those decisions, they've got to be dealt with like humans. And so we use automation at Bodega to do smart things with the catalog, but the act of representing music for sync is just not something that automates nicely these days. Not yet. It's a great question. All right. I cleared them all, 17.
Thank you so much, Randall, not just for presenting today and being here to share these insights, but also for taking the time to answer everybody's questions. We really appreciate you being here, and thank you to Symphonic for putting on today's webinar. Thank you, folks, for joining us today and sticking with us to the end here. Really appreciate you all being here for today's webinar. We look forward to hosting you at our next webinar in about 2 weeks' time. And reminder that this session has been recorded and will be hosted on Music Biz's website if you'd like to get access to it again. Hope you all have a great rest of your day and week, and look forward to welcoming you to our next session. Thank you again so much, Randall. Appreciate you.
Thank you all.